Hi, everybody. This is Tony Angelo of the Paragon Trust Company in New Haven, Connecticut. I'd like to talk to you about a note concerning the privatization of income tax collection. About a year ago, I had written an article for LinkedIn about my thoughts concerning the privatization of income tax collections. If you or someone you know has been in income tax debt, the IRS is now using private debt collectors in order to collect back tax debts. Anyway, for those of you in the audience who are interested, as the great Dodger baseball announcer Vin Scully was fond of saying, Internal Revenue Code Section 6306 permits the IRS to use private debt collection agencies in order to collect back tax debts. Now, for those of you scoring the game at home, the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act of 2015, otherwise known as the FAST Act, gave the IRS the specific power to contract with private collection agencies for the collection of certain inactive tax receivables. And for the youngsters in the audience, as Mr. Scully was also fond of saying, let the record reflect that this attempt at outsourcing tax debt was tried in the 1990s and failed miserably, with the biggest issue being the dilution and obfuscation of taxpayer rights due to the ignorance of private collectors regarding the tax law. For the statistical nerds in the audience that would actually like to read those particular rights, allow me to direct you to those silly little tax books seemingly collecting dust on bookshelves everywhere where you can have fun reading them or listening to them. However, turning to the serious, here is the fundamental problem with the privatization of tax collections. If a federal tax debtor is attempting to settle a debt with the government, he is afforded certain rights and privileges that are really quite complex and highly technical. On the other side of the table from the debtor is a representative of the IRS who most likely is not as well schooled in these rights and privileges as one might think, as he or she follows a publicly available document known as the Internal Revenue Manual in his collection dealings with taxpayers. This document is simply a document outlining IRS practice and procedure, but it is not law and non-binding upon any party to the proceedings. Shh, you didn't hear that from me. There are many times when working a case when I pointed out glaring differences between the Internal Revenue Manual and the regulations to the surprised, responsible IRS officer. So if tax disputes were a baseball game, it would be the equivalent of two teams playing with two different rule books and two distinctly different concepts of what the umpire is supposed to do. Confusing enough for you? So, to this mess or mix, enter private bill collection agencies. Now, to those of you who have ever dealt with commercial collectors, you realize several things fairly quickly, being number one, bill collectors have very defined and repetitive jobs where their function is to collect as much money as possible from debtors. Number two, bill collectors are often compensated on a percentage of what debts they collect. Number three, most debtors either cannot pay their bills or are running from paying their bills. And four, the combination of items 1 through 3 lead these collection souls to be unsympathetic to any explanations that the debtor might be giving, no matter how legitimate or justifiable. Therefore, in conclusion, if you or someone you know should be contacted by a private tax collector regarding a back tax debt, it is my strong suggestion that you protect your rights by insisting that your matter be dealt with at the IRS level and not at the private collections level. With this statement, however, it is incumbent to the debtor that he or she retain competent tax counsel in order to protect his or her rights and to, most importantly, straighten up and fly right in the tax sense. You will never, ever, ever completely escape the clutches of your back tax debt until you, in fact, deal with it. Well, I hope you found that helpful, and we'll have more on subjects like this in the days to come. This is Tony Angelo of the Paragon Trust Company in New Haven, Connecticut, and you can reach me at 203-777-7334. That's 203-777-7334, or at fortresstrust@AOL.com. Have a great day, and have it right here on Gatewave Radio.